Hello, and here we are, finally starting the Tarot for Writers. We are following the book by Corrine Kenner, and it is titled Tarot for Writers, and we're going to go from there. I had already recorded this step, but when I went in to edit it, I wasn't happy with the content, so I'm starting from the beginning again. Now, as you're aware, when I first discussed this project, it was coming from my own angle of dealing with writer's block, as I have a story written, or nearly written anyway, and I have the whole body of it, and it's got to a pitch now where I've just sort of hit a wall. So this book is what I'm referring to try and get over that writer's block. However, on saying that, whereas I'm going to be starting up at chapter 9, which is dealing with the writer's block, there's a couple of little things I just want to go over in this video with you when you're beginning this journey. First of all, for my own self, I've created a couple of flow charts, idea charts, what would you call them, where I've given the title of the story, who the antagonists are, the personalities, the protagonists, the foils, the supporting characters, background, that's all there. So far I've gone into what's gone on, part 1, part 2, the beginning, the middle, and still dealing with what's going on in the middle, and all little notes for me to refer to so that I can engage my notes with what's going on in this book. But let's go back to the beginning and just have a quick look at some of the activities that can be carried out in order just to get you off the starting blocks with this book. When I did the book review, obviously we went through chapter 1. We looked at chapter 1, which was Tarot 101, which is a great introductory to tarot generally, which I think could be used by anybody and everybody in order to get a gist of the tarot. And it's got some great practices in it. And examples and step-by-step instructions. Then we get to, let's see, chapter 4, character creation. So I have my characters. My characters were created a long time ago. But let's look at what we're being told here. So, when you're ready to start assembling the cast for your next story, deal yourself a starting hand. Begin with one card for every character you'll need. Typically, you'll want to include a protagonist, and remember, our protagonist is the hero of the story. The antagonist, which is the hero's opponent. The foils, those are the friends of the antagonist and the protagonist. The protagonist and antagonist. Supporting characters, people and figures that pop up throughout the story. And stock characters, those are the characters that play a background role, for instance the waitress that serves the tea in a restaurant, the car park attendant who gives you your entry ticket into a car park, etc, etc. So basically you'll want to consider all this. What's your story, how many characters is it going to have, what's the main role, etc. So in order to do this, let's see what it says here. So a protagonist is the hero of the story. He sees the most action and the most conflict. The word protagonist is Greek. It is used to mean the first character, so to speak on stage in a drama. Since the protagonist is the star of the show, you'll want to develop a detailed character profile to use as a reference while you write. An antagonist, every hero has an opponent. The anti-hero or antagonist. Even though the antagonist isn't the main character, he or she should be just as interesting as the protagonist. The foils, because everybody needs a friend. Many literary characters have foils, sidekicks who illustrate their strengths and weaknesses. Don Quixote's foil was Sancho Panza. Sherlock Holmes had Dr. Watson, Fred and Barney, and Lucy and Ethel. Even bad guys have henchmen minions and lackeys. Captain Hook had Mr. Smee, for example, and Dr. Evil had Mini-Me, and so on. So what you're asked to do here is to pick a card for a protagonist and antagonist, the protagonist's foil, the antagonist's foil, and a supporting character. So let's look at, we'll create a make-believe story, something that we're just starting off on. And I'm going to have 5 characters that I'm going to pull cards for now. And we're going to look at, let's have a look here. So we want cards for a protagonist, an antagonist, a protagonist's foil, an antagonist's foil, and a supporting character. I'm using large cards here so that they'll be clear on the screen. So my shuffling is a bit all over the place at the moment. So let me just... These have been totally shuffled a lot, so I'm just basically freshening them up. And let's pick out 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So in order that I picked them out, which is the bottom first, our protagonist and the characteristics, the antagonist, the protagonist's foil, the antagonist's foil, and supporting character. So for our protagonist, we've got the Knight of Cups. So that's literally looking at that for our protagonist, our hero, that's our knight in shining armour. That's the person who is there to be the hero, to come charging in to rescue you whenever you're in troubled times. So what sort of characters or personality traits would our protagonist have? Let's have a look. So first of all, with the Knight of Cups, just get onto a cleaner page here. So our protagonist. Our protagonist is the Knight of Cups. And basically, straight off, as the hero, it's giving us our knight in shining armour, okay? So we'll put that there, our knight in shining armour. So straight away we know that he's going to be a hero of some sort, he's going to be a saviour, he's going to come in and save the day. Our antagonist is the 8 of Swords. Okay, so it's somebody, let's have a look here. How would we describe a character that comes up as the 8 of Swords? To me, that's someone who's blinded to the needs of others. So the antagonist. Blinded to the needs of others and possibly likes to entrap others in nefarious or underhanded behaviours. So we're looking at the card. What on the card here is telling me that this is somebody, that is blind to the needs of others? Straight away, the blindfold. The blindfold. Now, remember, we're not reading this as a tarot card for ourselves. This is creating characters. So because this has come up under our antagonist, how would we see here? What gives us that? Well, straight away, they're blind to the needs of others, but equally, they potentially trap others in knots or predicaments with their own nefarious behaviours. So, blind to the needs of others. Entraps people through their own nefarious behaviour and activities, or through their own selfishness. So straight away we can deduce from this, this character is manipulative, selfish, and potentially cruel. Look at the swords, look at the knives, look at the bindings. Okay, so we have an antagonist who is possibly cruel, selfish, and manipulative. Our protagonist's foil, so this is the friend of our hero, our protagonist. We have the Chariot, which really sits well, doesn't it? Because here we have got our knight in shining armour and his friend is driven, self-driven, yet supportive. So we have the, what do we call him, protagonist's foil. Eight of Swords for that one. This one is the Chariot. So to me, this would say brave, self-driven, supportive, and there as an escape if needed, an escape route. And then we have our antagonist's foil. So our antagonist's foil is the Six of Cups. Now this tells me that the antagonist's foil is actually a friendlier person than the actual antagonist. And the reason I say this, we have two friends looking back on the past. Perhaps this character in the story has actually seen another side to our protagonist, knows that the protagonist was once a nicer person. So this would be a more positive role, wouldn't necessarily have the unpleasant characters that the antagonist has, but has the potential to be easily led by the antagonist. So that's what we have to be careful, that there's a lot of past there, that they grew up from childhood, and the antagonist's foil has seen a nicer side to the antagonist, but is not, you know, sort of out of the sort of leadership of that person, that he can also be misled by that person. So if we look at antagonist's foil, we can say, let's have a look. We can say nicer character, but easily led by the antagonist. Has the potential to positively have a positive influence on the antagonist. Influence on the antagonist. And grew up with this person. Then we have our supporting character. And the supporting character here is the Six of Swords. So the supporting character here could be somebody who literally has transported them from one place to another, who literally has been there, or those in the background of the story is there in a supporting role, as in having done something that in some small way has aided both our protagonist and potentially our antagonist too. So somebody in the background, this could be sort of the bus driver, the taxi driver. Here we have passenger and driver, okay? So our supporting character could be our bus driver, etc. Okay, so we know from this now, from the 5 cards we have drawn here, we have an idea of what our leading character is like and his support, his friend, what our enemy or opposing character is like and his friend, and then we have a character who plays a background role, who might only be there for a short sort of space of time, but he might just have been the bus driver that was the escape route for our hero to get from one place to another. So that is how we are using the tarot in this practice, in this activity. We're not reading the tarot as we would if we were doing a reading for ourselves or others. We are using the images in tarot to unlock our imagination and create personalities and roles for the characters that we're writing, that we're using for this story, by using their images to unlock our own imagination. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. You do that with your cards, get them out, see what you think, and then pop your comments in the comment box below, and we'll continue in a sec. So have you done that? And what have you come up with? And how did you find that activity? So that is an example of some of the activities that can get you on your way to writing a story. If you have an idea, if you have a set amount of characters, if you know you sort of have the bones of an idea, then use the images in your tarot to just unlock your imagination. This paragraph goes on to character building. You're looking at age, ethnicity, height, weight, hair, eyes, skin, glasses or contacts, birthmarks, scars, tattoos, clothing style, health issues or concerns, general appearance and most distinguishing features, personality, sun sign, sun sign. Short-term goals, long-term goals, strengths, weaknesses, phobias, pet peeves, gifts and talents, bad habits, mannerisms, fatal flaws and saving grace. Personal life, spouse, children, pets, former spouses or romantic partners, occupation, annual income, car, home, friends and neighbours and associates, and a daily routine. So all this comes out, and then you've got cast calling, and that goes on to typecasting, where you can sort of, another easy way to develop characters is to link the major arcana cards as archetypes. So archetypes are prototypes and models, basically. So if you have your alchemist, your magician, transforms the base metal into gold while seeking the elixir of life. Okay, so if he's, how can you associate that to a character? What characteristics would you think the magician would hold, or the alchemist would hold, knowing that the alchemist transforms a base metal into gold while seeking the elixir of life? Rumpelstiltskin. Okay, sort of that sort of thing. Okay, so there is a great list in here, a list of well-known archetypes. You might want to have a look at this on page 45 on chapter, what did I say we were, chapter 4 or 5? Chapter 4, okay? This that goes on for a few pages. It then looks at minor characters and how you'd set your minor characters up, their spiritual life, their emotional life, their intellectual life, their physical life. So you could draw cards on those as well. Writing practices. Pull 3 cards of your own favourite for your favourite character. The first to determine his primary goal and motivation in your story, and the second for the loss he'll face if he fails to achieve that goal. Use the third card to explore the internal conflict he'll have to conquer along the way. Here are 3 cards for a fictional character we'll call George. So basically 3 cards have been drawn for goals and motivation, stakes and internal conflict, and then we've looked at, then Corrine looks at interpreting those cards. Let's do that ourselves. Let's pick a fictional character. Who should we say? Let's see. Okay, I have a fictional character in mind. My fictional character is female. She's 32 years of age. And she's quite a strong, determined individual. So let's have a look. We'll give them a shuffle once more. And we'll pull out the top 3 cards from here. And we have goals and motivation, what's at stake, and internal conflict. So let's have a look at the goals and motivation. Goals and motivation on this one. To be self-driven, the chariot. The goal of my character, we'll call her Lucy. The goals of Lucy. Remember, she's female, she's 32 years of age, very strong character. Comes up straight away, strong character. She's driven, she's motivated, okay? She wants to achieve something in a dream, whether it's a dream of being successful in her work life, whether it's whether she wants to go on the stage, whatever it is that she wants to do. She is self-driven and motivated. She has the determination to succeed, but her determination to succeed can often put her at risk at stepping on the toes of others or riding roughshod all over them to get what she wants, which is not always a good thing. So we need to look at the personality. So although she's got strength and determination, she has to look at the other side. Could she be bullying? Could she be manipulative? Could she be a bit of a user? Okay, so we need to look at that. What's at stake? Okay, so what's at stake? Winning is at stake. She likes to win at all costs, okay? But all costs is not going to serve her well, because if she goes to win at all costs by riding over the lives of others, she has to remember that whatever she puts out there, that she will reap, and it could come back, and that victory that she feels could be hers, that victory that she feels here would be hers, could be the victory of somebody else, that somebody else could end up wearing the crown and carrying the sword that she would have liked to have carried herself. So she needs to be very careful at who she's standing on to get where she wants to go, because at the end of the day, what do they say? Be careful who you stand on, because it could be a heck of a lot of backsides to have to kiss if you fall and have to climb back up that ladder again. Okay, So that's what Lucy has to be aware of. Internal conflict. What's her internal conflict? We've got the page of coins. Okay. Her internal conflict is she still has to learn. She thinks she knows it all, but she doesn't. That things come to price. This is the page. She is, albeit she's 32 years of age, she probably has had a spoilt life where she's been the youngest or the only child. Money's been no object, and she's been able to go along quite happily doing her own thing. But she needs to now look at the world as an adult. Okay? She needs to drop this sort of child's and immature way of behaving. If she wants to be determined and a goal-getter, she needs to also learn to be fair play. She needs to not drive over the ambitions of others in order to gain her own, because at the end of the day, if she does that, she could be seen as being this bully, this immature bully who's only after the crown, and people say, well, do you know what, is that somebody we really want leading our company? Is that somebody that we really want to portray an actor or an actress in the media? No. So back down you go, missus. That's what she needs to be careful of. Okay, so that's how we're going to be working through the rest of the book. For myself, I have my characters. I have everything that I feel. I've read through all the chapters here, and I'm going to be starting here on the section for writer's block. Okay, and that's the sections I've taped off here with the yellow tape. And it's instant inspiration. So if you're at the point where you've written something down and you think, right, I now need to get past this particular scene in this story, I can't think of which way to go, then go back a bit in your story. Where did you create a scene that might ultimately have ended up in a bit of a stalemate when it comes to being creative? Do you have to revisit a couple of chapters and maybe change something? So if you do, let's have a look. It says here, instant inspiration. Here are some ways to use tarot cards to get words flowing onto a blank page. And it's great to have this to practice with. We can use a fictitious character, or we can use a character that we have got in our heads in a story that's already going. So complete description. Describe a single card in as much detail as you can muster. Start at the top and work your way down. Then describe the background and work your way towards the foreground. Notice the predominant colours as well as the mood and emotion in the card. Describe the scenery, characters and actions, and don't be surprised if you find an entire story unfolds as you work. So I'm just going to pick a card randomly out of the deck, and here we've got the Two of Coins. So let's have a look at this. So we're in a woodland, okay? We're in a woodland. We've got autumn colours on the floor, yet our trees are still green, so it could be the beginning of autumn. We've got the sun piercing through the trees, breaking through the trees, but it does look like a muted sunshine, almost like an autumn sunshine, albeit she's dressed very summery. I still get this autumn feel from it. Even her colours are autumnal colours. So the season, I would say, is autumn. It's still warm enough to dress summery, but have a jacket over you to keep warm. We've got a fur here to keep warm. Be prepared for any battle. Keep anything balanced. Keep your work and play balanced. We've got two lovely big coins here. Somebody's sitting on the coin, okay? Almost using the coin like a unicycle to get from A to B. What else have we got here in the foreground? Be aware of what's around you. Look at this person's face. They're studying their environment. What is it about your environment that could be unbalance you? Well, you know, if it's starting to get cold, there's a little bit of concern look on the face of this character. So it's autumn, we're in the woods, the weather can change quite quickly. So is it time that we made haste? A little bit of nervousness. Is there something in the woods that you can hear? You could, a sound that you've picked up on that doesn't make you feel very comfortable, that makes this character's nervousness come to the fore, and saying, well, it's time I headed home. And symbolic of a bicycle, a unicycle, a bicycle, if it was, or if they were together and she's sitting on them, cycle home, get out there quick smart. You know? So it's using images to create a scene, the sort of emotional state of our character, a little bit nervous, wary, looking like she can hear something in the distance that's not keeping her feeling very comfortable, and time to beat a hasty retreat. So just looking at that for the last, for a couple of seconds, we've deduced that we have a season, that we have a scene, that we have somebody there who is picking up something from their environment that's making them feel a little bit uncomfortable, and time to get home before darkness falls. Before darkness falls and before it can get colder and they might lose their way on the path in the woodlands, So to take something like this, take a card, look at the character I've already got and apply what I've just deduced from this card to the character and the character that's the situation they're in. How does that tie together, and what path can that lead my character down? So that's where I'm going to head with this. And we've got things like, this card reminds me of, this image makes me feel, this card makes me think, this card makes me want. So all these are ready to go. So I am going to head off. I'm going to apply what we've done to my book and see where it gets me. Please try some of the exercise that we've done and contribute down below. And I'd love to hear from you. Take care. Thank you.